Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So one state is going to be sending its residents a check up to $1,500 in the form of a tax rebate. So we'll be covering what state that is. Plus another state is also going to have a pretty massive budget surplus this year. So they're considering sending out direct payments or stimulus checks to its residents. We're going to be covering how much that could be and which state that is. Also, President Biden just issued a new executive order on the border. We'll be covering what is going to be covered in that as well. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Plus, if you would like to receive up to $200 in free stock or $200 in free cash, in a pinned comment below, I will be leaving a link to Robinhood. All you have to do is once you click on that link is just sign up for a free account and then simply link your bank account. You do not even have to make an opening deposit. At that point in time, Robinhood will be sending you one free stock worth all the way up to $200. And if you'd rather just have the cash, all you have to do is once you receive the free stock is just sell it for what it's worth and then transfer the cash value right back to your bank account. Okay, so diving right into our first story of today's video, we have $1,500 stimulus checks in the form of a tax rebate going out to one state. So up on the screen here, you can see that $1,500 stimulus checks in June of 2024. Here are the eligibility and payment dates. So homeowners and renters of New Jersey are going to receive $1,500 stimulus checks June from their authorities to pay their taxes and rents. As we know, in this increasingly inflation world, they are facing challenges in paying their taxes and managing expenditures due to limited income and higher prices. Such citizens are going to receive financial assistance of $1,500 stimulus checks in June from the Affordable New Jersey Communities for Homeowners and Renters program. So those are solely for residents in the state of New Jersey. Now, in another state, right now they are looking at a pretty massive budget surplus. So they have all this extra money from the taxes that are flowing in, and they have not spent it all. So right now they're looking at this extra money, like what can we do with it? Are we going to lower taxes, make it so people don't have to pay as much taxes to their state? Are we going to just send out a one-time direct payment? Are we going to use it towards something else? They're looking at all these different options, but we have one lawmaker really pushing for direct payments or stimulus checks. So according to Newsweek, stimulus check update as one state considers sending out new payment. So less than a month away from the June 30th deadline by which Pennsylvania officials must adopt the final budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025, Costa told WHTM's This Week in Pennsylvania on Friday that the state is well positioned resource-wise and is likely to have more than $800 million in surplus for this fiscal year. Quote, "We have a month before the June 30th deadline arrives," he told his television channel. "I think resource-wise, we're well positioned in Pennsylvania with better than a $14 billion budget surplus, but also this year we're seeing that now that we're moving into June, we're probably going to have $800 million excess surplus just for this fiscal year." Asked about his Republican colleagues' idea to use that $14 billion surplus to reduce the state's personal income tax from 3.07% to 2.8%, Costa said he recognized that was an option to consider, but another potentially better suited option would be to return it in the form of a one-time lump sum payment to residents. Of course, that would be a stimulus check. He said, "If we provide maybe a one-time lump sum payment back to folks, they can immediately put it back into the economy," he said, "or we can look at something similar to what we did before with the Child Independent Care Tax Credit Program," he added. Overall, Costa said that these options could be more appropriate and more impactful, but must be coupled with investments in education and employment. So leave your thoughts and comments below. Would you be on board if you live in the state of Pennsylvania for another direct payment, stimulus check, whatever you want to call it? As far as the federal level right now, there are no talks about a fourth stimulus check unless we dive into a recession or something like that. More than likely, we're not going to have a fourth stimulus check at the national level, but we're going to continue seeing more states send out these direct payments as they have surpluses and other things like that. Now, in some other news, of course, Joe Biden issued another executive order, this time at the border. We're going to be looking at what this will do. So according to The Hill, The order, an interim final rule released by Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and Attorney General Merrick Garland, will kick in when the 7-day average of daily encounters at the southwest border and the southern coastal borders exceed 2,500. When it does, U.S. border officials will stop implementing credible fear interviews for asylum claims and work to quickly expel foreign nationals who've crossed the border between ports of entry. Migrants who are expelled under the order will receive a minimum 5-year ban on re-entry to the United States and potentially be criminally prosecuted. The asylum restrictions will have exceptions, though. For instance, they will not apply to unaccompanied minors, and officials will still be able to conduct credible interviews with migrants who manifest a fear of returning to their country because of persecution or potential torture situations. Now, of course, the bad thing about minors there is that in a lot of these cases where they're coming across the border without their parent, in a lot of these cases it could be like human trafficking. So as you can see up on the screen, that the Congressional Research Service estimates that 75 to 80% of unaccompanied children arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border are in fact victims of human trafficking, and UACs who are apprehended by border officials are likely to be experiencing trauma and consequent mental health concerns as a result of these experiences. So obviously that is really just a terrible fact of what's going on there at the border, among other things. And of course, Republicans are coming out and saying, why is Joe Biden now acting at the border? He had all these years while in office to act, and now that we're coming up with the election and he's deeply unpopular with the border against Trump, he's now finally acting at the border. This is obviously very political. Let's go ahead and roll the clip.
Well, good morning, everybody. We're here to talk about the president's latest executive order on the border. By my count, he's issued 94 executive orders since he's been President of the United States. But he's waited until today to actually do what he calls effective action to secure the border. And my question to him is, why did you wait until now if you were serious about doing it? The simple answer is he's not serious about securing the border. You know, we had some discussion about whether or not new laws were required to be passed. There were some negotiations on a potential border bill that was not successful. But the simple fact of the matter is that the same laws that were in effect back when President Trump was in office are still in effect. But the difference is the unwillingness of this White House and this administration simply to enforce the law. And you know the numbers of people coming across have just been unprecedented, along with the drugs that have come across that have taken the lives of 108,000 Americans, including 71,000 due to fentanyl, the leading cause of death among 18 to 45-year-olds. And then there's the 400,000 unaccompanied children that have been placed with sponsors in the United States and simply lost by the Biden administration. They can't tell you whether these children are going to school, getting the health care they need, whether they're being trafficked for sex or forced into labor, as the New York Times investigative piece months ago disclosed. So they simply don't know, and frankly, they just don't care. And now we read, according to the New York Post, that all the asylum claims that have been stacked up in our immigration courts, that the Biden administration plans to simply dismiss approximately 350,000 of those cases. So they've opened the front door, and when the room gets too crowded, they open the back door. And it is a shell game. It is a shell game. They are not serious about it. This is a conversion based on the proximity of the next election and sinking poll numbers, and we think it deserves to be called out for what it is.
So that's all we have for today's video. I certainly hope you enjoyed and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate it if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.